best sports betting show on the planet, where our goal is very simple: make our bankrolls just a little bit bigger today than they were yesterday. Amazing show. We're going to lead off with Giani because we always got to know where the sharp money's going. Steve Merrill is going to join us, talk a little MLB and NBA. And then we're going to and Ronald, our WNBA expert. Ronald's going to talk a little bit of NBA with us as well. And then we're going to end the show with Andrew McInnis, talk some NHL. His playoffs are right around the corner. But we do have a nice little special announcement. Friday, mark this down, right after WagerTalk Today at 1 o'clock, we are going to go live with a special edition of the Blue Line. It's going to be Prez. It's going to be me, Matthew Barnaby, and drumroll, Jeremy Roenick is going to join us. It's going to be a complete playoff preview. We're going to go over futures. We're going to go over the first round. Of course, we're going to go over props. It will be live. We will be taking questions. So if you're a big NHL fan, you're looking to jump on a live show with Prez, myself, Matthew Barnaby, and Jeremy Roenick, that's 1 o'clock live on Friday. So mark that down. Should be absolutely amazing. If you guys could hit the like button, please. It always helps us out. If you haven't subscribed, creep it in on that 200,000 subscribers. Feels like we're going at a snail's pace. Let's see if we can pick it up here today. But joining us is Giani. Of course, Giani, nice job yesterday. I see you went 5-2. Congratulations. Don't you wake up in just a little bit better mood when you have a nice winning day for clients? How are you today, my friend?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I try not to look before I go to bed. But yesterday, while preparing for today's blackjack class, I just had it up, like the odds screen. So I was seeing scores, and I was like, wow, another good day. It's been good, man. Thank God, up for 2025, up the last 3, up the last 7, up the last 30. So any sample size, you feel good because, no matter when anyone jumped on, you did your job for them. You were able to produce a profit. So yeah, that's always the best feeling because a lot of times, when guys are jumping in and out, when they're buying a week here, buying a day there, it's hit or miss. They're rolling the dice because you may be having the best year, but during that small sample size, you have a losing week or a losing weekend. And to me, that's the worst feeling, but I have to just try to do my best overall. That's why I always say it from the steam room, from the very beginning. My goal, I have one goal. That's when December 31st gets here, for us to be in the 0.5% of bettors on the planet that can look back and say, we made money with the sports betting market in 2025. If our goals are aligned, 8 out of the last 10 years, I was able to reach that goal. If our goals are not aligned, I may disappoint you. You know what I mean? I want them to know that going in. I can't win when you decide you want to bet. I don't have that power. If you decide today, I feel like bet him, I'm going to buy his package. I don't have that ability to say, you know what, today I can win for you. But I can tell you, long-term success doesn't lie. When in doubt, zoom out. There's a reason why the majority of people in the industry don't show long-term results. There's a reason why most of the prediction shows, the preview shows, will not show long-term results. Because we all know how hard it is to actually be a long-term winner. You put your long-term results out, you're proud of them. Nobody is winning long-term that's not showing it. There's nobody that's up
so true.
That won in 2024 that's not showing it. There's no one that's up in 2025 that's not showing it. If they're only showing you their last 7 days, their last 30 days, there's a reason for that. And I know it's that FOMO, that fear of missing out, where we're like, dude, they made that money and I missed out. I should have jumped on board. But I always say, when in doubt, zoom out. You could have a losing day, bro. You could have a losing weekend. You could have a losing weekend, a losing month. It's going to happen. During my most profitable years, you could pick a sample size and it looks like I don't even know what I'm doing. But when you zoom out, that's where you see the truth. And very few people, when you zoom out, you'll see profit overall. Like you could have a bad week, a bad month. But when they zoom out, they're going to see this is what you're doing for 2025. This is what you did in 2024. That can't be taken away from you. And again, if someone's not telling you what they're up over the last 365, there's a reason for that, because nobody's hiding. There's so few people that actually win. Nobody's hiding those results. That much I can promise you. So yeah, it feels good to be up for the year. It feels good to be up for those sample sizes as well. Thank you. And the picks here, they went 4-1. The sides lost that Yankees total, but sides did well for anybody following yesterday.
It's such a great point. There's been a few things that I can look back and say, oh, that's really where I went from not profitable to profitable. And you're right. Focusing on a year, like 3 days, I'm not too worried about. 7 days, not too worried about. I start to really pay attention when it gets to a month because I have this really nice streak of profitable months. But when I stop letting those short-term little, bumps in the road bother me, and you just look at the big picture, there's just a relax. You're calm. You don't let things get to you. Your mind's much clearer. The handicapping becomes much clearer. You're so right about that. Simplifying
Always do that, but when you're going through a tough time, honestly, Andy, because we're harder on ourselves than even our subscribers. I know I am. I take it more personal because I manage my risk correctly. I've done this long enough. I trust the sources I have and what we do and taking percentage of the accounts. I'm going to make my money year in and year out, but I want them to be able to profit off it as well. So a lot of times I feel terrible. Like last year when I had a winning year and they trusted me and I wasn't able to produce for them, didn't come through. I didn't do my job. That's my only job, is to produce profit for them. But what I always tell myself is, in those times, zoom out. Look at the whole picture. Be proud of the work you've done and what you've accomplished. You can't, produce for everyone. But if you could produce as a whole, then you're doing your job. And like when you get down on yourself, if you're in a rough streak, take a minute and put in last 365 in the back end at WagerTalk, and it's going to cheer you up immediately because you're going to know you did your job. You can't be perfect. Nobody is. But you're doing your job. If you could zoom out and see good results, you should be proud of those, bro.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And we're very proud. We work really hard. You mentioned some sources. Let's take a look. What's some sharp money coming in on? What are the syndicates betting? We got a high volume day, low volume day. What are we looking at?
A little spread out. Yeah, I was surprised to see some Orlando -5 in the accounts. Usually they're not betting sides in NBA playoffs. Even in NHL, it's not really a lot of sides. It's mostly totals. We talked about those yesterday, how they got out and bet the unders in a handful of totals. They're usually betting the totals, and they're betting the player props because the limits are a little higher during the playoffs, and there's a lot more recreational money betting the props every night because they're so important. They're so popular, and a lot of these lines are going to be shaded towards those biases. We know that recreational players, they want overs. They want to see points. They're rarely going in there and betting player props under. So I see during this time during the playoffs, they'll isolate a player or two where they think this line's a little bit too high. There's some recency bias around it where maybe they had 2-3 of the last games where they put up a lot of points, but it's not, where their season average even is. And those are the kind of props that I see they take advantage of the most during the NBA playoffs. But like I said, I was a little bit surprised to see the Orlando -5 in multiple accounts. And then in baseball, 952 over 8.5 last night at -110 Arizona, Miami, and then followed through this morning, laying -15, laying -120 to go over 1.5. Also Washington, Pittsburgh. That was only bet last night. They bet the over 8.5 all the way up to -120. Then they backed off. Nothing today. And the last side, Atlanta, Toronto, where there was follow through again, they went under the 8 up to -105 last night, laid it up to -125 today, which is why you're looking at a lot of 7.5s there. A few of the sides that jumped out was Philly because they got follow through -140 and 45 last night, then laid the -150 this morning. And the same thing with Baltimore, -130, 135 last night, came through and laid the -140 this morning. That's what sticks out the most. Not a lot of volume so far. I've been seeing a lot more late stuff than in the past, whether that's just waiting for confirmation of lineups or maybe more books to offer numbers. Because, again, like I keep getting accounts, and perfect example this morning, a friend of mine sent me over 2 accounts that we take a percentage of. I sent them in, and I just had to let them know, these guys don't take overnights. Like, you can't put a bot on it. But more importantly, they don't give overnights. So they're only giving out day of the game. And more books are doing that. The ones that cater to sharp action, I see it all the time, where they're not putting lines up till later, as late as possible, even sometimes like later in the afternoon. But they're willing to take big bets and bigger limits because they feel by that time the line's stabilized. Like that, it's probably at where it should be, where at least they believe there's not too much value, as opposed to being able to bet it earlier in the morning or the night before, where we see these lines move significantly when compared to how they move, 3 hours before the game up until game time. They don't move as significantly, except for the very, very late stuff. It usually happens a lot earlier, the bigger moves at least. If not injury related, something like that.
Yeah. So just for the chat, because I know a lot of people love the information you give out and they want to know what sides are on there. Can you give just a little bit of it doesn't have to be exact, but a baseline of, hey, the syndicates played this at -110. How much does it move before you're like, no, now it's out of reach? Is it like 5 cents,
Great
10
question.
cents, 20?
I'm so glad, honestly, not to cut you off, that you asked that question, because I get it asked all the time. What I do is simple. I look at how much has the line moved in comparison to implied win probability. Okay. Because for example, if you take a bet, if I send out a play at -250 and it goes to -275, that's only an increase of about 2% in implied win probability, but it moved up 25 cents. But if I go from -120 to -145, that's a 5% move almost in implied win probability. That's a huge difference. So always make sure you have that chart in front of you on what each money line is worth, so you can see what is my difference now I'm trying to overcome. If I'm within 2-3%, I'm comfortable, because I believe their edge is around that 5% range for them to take a position. Once it gets past that 5% in implied win probability, I back off. Unless I have a lot of conviction, a lot of confidence that this one's way off. Like there's so much recency bias, or the narrative is forcing books to allow us to really get the best of it. They have so much risk on this side that the line isn't even as high as it should be. But I try to keep to that rule of thumb where I try to stay within 2 or 3% of implied win probability, because then I still feel I have that cushion of a built-in edge. Like they're not really taking advantage of 1% inefficiencies.
Okay.
And like I said, the long-term numbers are usually that 5% ROI. So I kind of use that as my scale. And like I said, make sure you have that chart in front of you, because the difference between a -300 and a -350 isn't as significant as an even money bet to a -150. Like those 50 cents matter a lot more once you get into the higher chalk. That's why the higher chalk, they're hard to scalp. Like no one's scalping those big numbers, because the take back is a lot shorter than it should be in the smaller money lines.
All right, there you go, Chad. I know Justin, and I know we had a few other people that love listening to your play. So keep that in mind, guys. When Gianni gives out these lines, make sure we're staying within that 5% the win probability. And follow that chart, and you guys should be good. Gianni, what are we? Blackjack, assuming is going fantastic. What else do you have up at WagerTalk?
The class is tonight, class number 4. And if you sign up for the year, you get that for free. And Johnny's still offering it, where if you jump on board and you get to come to tonight's class, but more importantly, you get the first class, the second class, and the third class all sent to you. So you could go through it. You could start from the beginning. There's nothing you missed. And then come back next week, ask all the questions you want. Because like I said, when that course is done, every single one will be up to speed, whether I have to go one-on-one with an individual after it's over. I want to make sure that they get everything out of it. So that's still available, where we give it for free. If you sign up for the year, so far so good. I'll have a $5 play up there in NHL. Had a nice NHL play come in this morning. Multiple accounts. The line's still readily available. No surprise. And nice ROI in NHL over the last 30 days. Been very selective, but it's been profitable. And my baseball package will be up probably within the next 60 minutes. Already have some plays there that I confirmed. So good day of betting tonight. And see if we get some NBA props to share also later on.
All right, Gianni, we have somebody in the chat. We may know him, Johnny Detroit. And he says, Andy, ask him to quickly show the water bottle trick. What is the water bottle trick? Okay. This is impromptu. This is live. We're getting betting advice as well as
once you have a running count. Once you have a running count, and you could count, anyone could count, add +1 or -1 or 0. That's simple. But at the table, you have to convert that to the true count, Because if I have let's say I come up with I'm at a +3, right? But I look at the discard tray rack and there's only one deck in there. So there's now 5 decks still to be played. That +3 means almost nothing because I have to divide that 3 by the 5, and it's not even a true +1. So my edge isn't even there. It's like slight, it's not worth raising your bet. So the key is making sure how many decks are left to play. That's how you convert. And the way I was taught was rubber banding each half deck and learning how to eye it. Because before we used to do by half decks. I've done it long enough to realize you could be just as accurate just doing it by single decks. So I taught these guys rubber band one deck, put it in the discard rate. You start learning, eyeballing it, how many are there, okay?
Okay.
An easier way to do it is get your water bottle out or something that you could compare to that discard tray and have your little, I know when it's here, it's 2 decks. I know when it's here, there's, 2 decks remaining, 3 decks remaining, 4 decks remaining, what have you. A simple way to just put that there and see the discard tray and eyeball how many decks are left to play. So you don't have to panic. Am I right? Am I wrong? Your water bottle is going to tell you exactly what each deck, how high it should go. Simple trick.
Amazing.
You'll never see what you're doing. And you could easily do the math problem without having to be like, shit, is it 3 decks left or is there 3.5 or 4? Simple. The bottle's going to tell you every time how much is left. So little things that I learned. That's what I love teaching about this class, that it's actionable info because it's stuff that I picked up. Some of the tricks that I do, today they're going to learn how to side count aces without having to keep a separate count. Just the way to play with your chips where you're doing it. So it's things that worked for me that I'm able to share with these guys. So yeah, you want to be able to have that bottle of water because that's going to tell you everything you need to divide by.
Truly one of a kind, Gianni. Thank you so much, brother. I hope you have another winning day for yourself.
Thank you, my man. Thank you. Best of luck to you. Best of luck to Steve and the rest of the crew today.
All right, we're moving right along. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave us a comment. Shout out to the chat. All right, let's bring in Steve Merrill. Steve, listen, I believe you are number 1 in 4% MLB sides in the last 17 hours. How's that? How's that for a
Okay, I was just going to say, I know we're 75% the last 2 days. I was like, we're doing okay. I don't know if I'm number 1 yet, but we'll get there, son of a gun. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, so this, all jokes aside, I did my first NBA preview for the play-in games tonight. We'll talk about one of them in a moment, but I mentioned that I've got the 1-year all access, and people always ask me, like, when's a good time to jump on board? And theoretically, it's today because we have an edge every day. The sooner you start playing with an edge, as you know, Andy, the more you start winning long-term. But if I got to be honest, if there's a great time to jump on board, it's right now. The NBA playoffs start tonight. Baseball is only a month in. You're going to get all of next year's college and pro football, all of next year's college basketball season because that's done, and all of next year's NBA till the start of the playoffs. So I did mention that earlier, and it's funny. Last year, by the end of August, we had doubled our bankroll. So let's hope the 3-1, 75% run the last couple nights is the start of something special because this was a really good time of year last year with the NBA playoffs and MLB.
Yeah, I was just kidding about the number 1. I was looking at your plays. I saw you went 1-0 yesterday. So just kind of just having a little fun with the number 1 thing. So don't at me about that being a real streak or anything. So Steve, yeah, it's playoff time.
It is a real
Here
streak.
We go.
1-0 yesterday, 2-1 Sunday, 3-1, 75% is a real streak, my man.
There you go.
You know this.
Yeah, you can't get to 5-0 without 1-0 and 2-0.
You know what's funny about that though, Andy, is you're better off going 75% than 100%. Because 3-1 makes you more money than 1-0, right? So that's another thing, though, to keep in mind. All seriousness about baseball, you know this obviously, but yeah, baseball is the one sport where win percentage doesn't matter much. Johnny's talking about minus 275, right, versus minus 140. They both have an edge, but you're going to win a lot more at minus 275. So yeah, baseball is a unique sport here, and we're there in that time of year now, the quiet time. Shh, don't tell anybody. It's the quiet time where we doubled our bankroll last summer.
Let's talk about play-in games. You've been doing this a long time. You've seen so many trends over the years. How do you approach these play-in games?
Well, you don't have to be doing it too long to have trends of the play-ins, right? It's only a couple years in. And I joked about this in my video. Playoffs, Mara, calm down. I know it's not technically the playoffs yet. It's the play-in. It's the postseason. I even said earlier the NBA playoffs start tonight. That's not correct. So once again, don't hack us on the comments. They start Saturday. It's the postseason, right? All games, not all playoff games are postseason games, so they're not quite in yet. These are like the first 4 games in the NCAA tournament, and it's ironic that they're taking place on Tuesday and Wednesday, just like the NCAA tournament. I did every game for the NCAAs through the championship. I'm going to do every game for the NBA, so make sure you click subscribe and you click that bell here on WagerTalk TV as the videos will be up each and every night before or the morning of for these games. And let's look at the first one here. They can go back and get the Memphis Golden State one in the video, but Atlanta-Orlando goes at 7:30 Eastern tonight on TNT, True TV, and Max, in case you want to watch it on 3 screens. And this is a rematch from the finals season finale on Sunday, in which Atlanta won as a 3-point dog, and they weren't playing anybody. They went from a 2-point favorite to like a 3-point dog, won the game outright still. And Orlando, meanwhile, does have Banchero and Wagner on the injury report, but they're listed as probable. I expect them 100% to go. Suggs has been out for half the season. He is their best defender. And I do think they're a weaker defensive team without Suggs. And both of these Atlanta games the last week, they played last Tuesday, by the way, also. They both went over the total. With that said, though, Orlando's still the best defensive team the last 15 on efficiency, the second best in the season overall, whereas Atlanta's the third best offensive efficiency team. So it's offense versus defense here. It's pace versus pace. Atlanta's one of the fastest teams in the league. Orlando is the slowest squad. But as I mentioned, the 2 meetings over the past week both got up and over. So I do think Orlando's had trouble slowing them down. And I also think the Magic can score in this game more than average because Atlanta doesn't guard the big wings well. So I look for Wagner and Banchero to both have nice games here. I think their player props over. At worst, you probably split out. I would play them both over their point prop. Their point props are higher than their season averages, but keep in mind that's because this game will have a faster pace and more points. So don't let that scare you off. We never look to fade superstars in playoff games or postseason games in this situation. So I'd like those 2 guys over the total. And I think the game itself could go over for that reason. And Andy, talk about trends here for the play-in games. We don't have a lot of data, but one thing that jumped out to me, of course, last year was on this Thursday, how the games soared under. In fact, they both moved about 5 to 6 points to the under last year, and they both stayed under still. We've seen both of these games move several points to the under. Well, actually, the late game Memphis games moved about 5 points to the under. This one had moved a point down when I did my video last night, but now it's a point back up. So I think this one has over potential, and I think all this low-scoring postseason play-in games has been factored in already, and this line is too low. I'd look at Atlanta, Orlando over, and also look at Banchero and Wagner over their point totals as well at 7:30 Eastern.
Steve Merrill, Steve and I came into WagerTalk at the same time. It's been such a fun journey going through this industry with you, Steve. Let's move to MLB. All right, Cleveland and Baltimore. Baltimore is throwing out Charlie Morton. Now, Steve, do you know what the Oscar-winning movie was in the very first year that Charlie Morton pitched in MLB? Because this absolutely blew my mind. Do you know how long he's been pitching in MLB?
So now I got to think what year this would be. Morton, well, actually, I'll tell you right now because I think I probably have it in front of me. So let me think what movie might have been out at that point.
Do you guys know in the chat? Do you guys know this? Charlie Morton.
We'll give the chat a moment.
Yeah. What movie won the Oscar? 3, 2, 1. No Country for Old Men, which is hilarious because he is an old man. He's 41 years old.
2008, I believe, is when he started. I'm looking right now. 2008 was his first season. Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? Charlie Morton still doing it. Shout out to Charlie Morton. Now, it's not going well this season, but he is out there. So let's break down this Cleveland-Baltimore game here, Steve. How do you see it going?
Well, he wears number 50, or is that his age? I'm looking at his number history here. The guy's been on 9. This is fun. The guy's been on 9 teams. He's worn 50 on 6 of them. He wore 37, 63, and 47. My youth football number was 47, and my son wears 50 for baseball. So I like Charlie Morton. Let's root for him tonight. But all things seriously, probably not a good spot in it. It's interesting, though, you bring up a good point about how he's not having a good season, and he's been pitching for a while. This is something we find a handful of guys every year like this. And you're like, well, there's 2 ways to look at this. When a guy's got a 8.78 ERA after 3 starts, you're like, well, he's still in the lineup because the managers obviously think he has something, right? Otherwise, he'd be thrown down to the minors. That's not always the case, especially when a guy is almost as old as his jersey number, which is 50 in this case. And I think he's hanging around, and we might get some value fading him for a couple more starts. 4.2 ERA last year in 30 starts, 3.6 the year before that. So he's been very serviceable. And this is the type of guy that they might leave in the lineup a little longer than they should. He's tied for the league lead in losses, 0-3. That ties the league lead in losses. So he's got that going for him, a league leader right here. Yeah, until we see otherwise, I'd be very careful with Morton. And the Orioles are kind of team I've had on my list to maybe fade this season anyway. I'm very local here to their AAA team, the Norfolk Tides. They've had a ton of talent coming up the last several seasons. So they went from literally the worst team in the league 3-4 years ago to the best moneymaker in sports the last 2.5 years. You got to figure at some point that's going to start to plateau off. And I still think they're very short on starting pitching. And coming into this season, I'm thinking, maybe the regular season they can get by with all this offense like they've been doing. But their pitching is thin, and that's another reason why a guy like Charlie Morton might stay in the lineup, the pitching rotation, rather longer than he should. So I do think he's over the hill. I think this 8.8 ERA is not a fluke, and I'd be very careful with the Orioles going forward for that reason. And then on top of that, you look at this number here, you're laying $1.45. You're getting the Guardians at plus 130, so it's not like it's priced into the line yet. I would not be laying $1.45 with Morton anytime soon, and you probably won't have many opportunities to fade him anytime soon either if he continues like this.
Steve, it's $5 Tuesday up at WagerTalk, coming off of a nice little short-term run. Listen, you can't have long-term profits without short-term profits. Tell everybody about your $5 play and what you have up at WagerTalk.
Yeah, I think we're heating up, 3-1 the last 2 days in baseball, and now the NBA postseason starts tonight. Number one last year in the NBA, number one all time in NBA profit, and last year baseball was number one in profit, one overall in best bets. And once again, we doubled our bankroll by the end of August, and a large part of that was due to an incredible NBA playoffs and baseball run, which started right now in mid-April. So this is a great time to get on board. If you want to try out tonight's top best bet, it's an 80% discount because it's $5 Tuesday. Or if you want to take a long-term investment approach, how about $1 every day with all access promo code SM365? It's an instant $811 discount, and it gets every sport every day for the next 365 days and nights and gets it down to $3 a day. That's about $1 a play. So yes, $5 Tuesday is great, but getting all sport, all access for the next year for about $1 a play is even better. SM365. You can find out the details on my page, along with daily free plays. Steve Merrill, WagerTalk.com, and get there quicker with that shortcut you see on your screen, WT.buzz/SM.
Love it. Awesome work, Steve. Appreciate you. Good luck, and hopefully that hot streak keeps coming. It is $5 Tuesday, guys. All handicappers have a $5 play up, so take advantage of that. Do this every Tuesday. It gives you a great chance to try out some different handicappers and just see what the write-ups are like. See what the styles is like. Maybe you find a handicapper you haven't tried before. You like the write-up, you like the style, and you want to try something long-term. So it's a great advantage to try some different plays and some different sports that maybe you don't take advantage of. Dan, we're ready for this graphic that we do every week in Discord. My $5 play is up in NHL, but we always talk about long-term. So in our Discord, the Winning in the Shadows Discord channel, every week and then every month, we do a weekly recap, and it just shows you, hey, what did we run good in? What did we not run good in? So this is just an example of what our last 7 days were like. As you can see, we had an insane 7 days. This is not every single 7 days, but we ran a 7-day special. And this is really important because if you got the 7-day special last week, you are up. If you got it on Monday, you're up about 24 units. If you got it Tuesday, you're up 20 units. If you got it Wednesday, Thursday, you're up about 18 units, and you still got some more days to go. So what we're doing is we're running a special on a 7-day, 30-day, and 365 days. We're marking them all down 30%. That's at WT.buzz/AL. This is how you build your bankroll. When you have a really good week like this, you take some of the profits and you invest it. This is what businesses are built on. It's how I built my production company. We bought some speakers, took the profits, bought some more. Then we bought some lights. Now we're doing $250K a year in staging, speakers, and lights. But you do that by investing the profit. So take advantage when you have this really big hot streak. All of you that got that 7-day pass, take some of those profits, invest in it. Don't pull the profits out and buy a PlayStation for your favorite cam model or something stupid like that. Treat it like a business, really, really invest in it. So take advantage of that. We're up 88 units in 2025. That's not a great 3.5 months. That's like a great year. So take advantage of all that. WT.buzz/AL 7-day pass. 30-day pass and 5-day pass are all 30% off. All right, you guys want some props and you want some plays? I'll go over a few here right now. If you're a parlay bettor, such as myself, Formula One race, take a look at Ferrari double top 10 and Mercedes double top 10. Both of those can go in your parlays. If you're looking at golf this week, it's a really bettable golf tournament. I see on the off screens Tom Hoge over Taylor Pendrith. Hoge is way better. His last 3 finishes are 14th, 5th, and 3rd. Pendrith has missed the cut in 3 out of 5 tournaments. Hoge is 4-0 head-to-head against Taylor Pendrith the last 4 that they've played in together. There's a golf bet for everybody. And then going to NBA, Nuggets versus Clippers. DraftKings has over 5.5 games at -190. I feel like as long as Kawhi stays healthy, that is a really close series. I would struggle to see how like a 4-1 happens. As long as each team wins 2 games, you're good to go there. Lakers and Timberwolves over 5.5 games, same thing. As long as everyone stays healthy, I think this is a close series. I don't see anybody getting blown out. That's -175. If you're a parlay bettor, you can parlay both those together for +140. So those are some plays that I'm looking at in the NBA. So take a look at those Formula One parlay pieces, NBA, and then golf as well. All right, bringing in Ronald Cabang, talking some NBA here. Ronald, listen, nobody does it better in the WNBA. It's right up my alley. I love these sports that maybe off a little bit of the beaten path. You're number 1 in WNBA profits the last 2 years. Congratulations. Well, let's talk about this other play-in game. We got Memphis and Golden State. Memphis is the definition of stumbling to the finish line. It's like they're playing their worst basketball of the year. Everyone's healthy, though, for these two teams. Interesting game, but Golden State -7, so the books are not really believing in the Grizzlies. We got an over-under of 229. What do you make of these two teams here in the play-in game?
Yeah, I know there's a lot of things behind the Grizzlies. Obviously, they fired their head coach, Coach Jenkins. They got their new coach, and one of the biggest things for me, obviously I look at post All-Star numbers. The Grizzlies not that great after the All-Star break that led to the firing. They were only 6-21 ATS. They did close out winning 4 of their last 6 games. On the Warriors side, they were dominant post All-Star break, 20-7 straight up. But then they went 3-3 to close out the season, and then obviously Kerr had that post game interview saying that he's still trying to figure out the rotation and all those things. It seems like momentum. It seems like they're kind of going in opposite directions to close out the season. One of the things that I did notice with the play-in specifically, the Warriors have not done well in the play-ins. They're 0-3 straight up in the play-ins. The Grizzlies are actually 2-0. Obviously, without Jenkins, it's a little bit different. But one thing that I did see that the Grizzlies struggled with was defending the 3-ball post All-Star break. They were one of the worst at defending the 3. But since their new head coach came in, they've dramatically improved. I think it's like 10th in defensive 3-point rating since he came in. I think that's about 7 or 8 game sample size. Prior to that, they were like bottom 5 in the league in defending the 3. And obviously the Grizzlies are one of the top teams as far as 3-point frequency. So that's going to be one big thing that I think the Grizzlies might have, sort of like a little edge that maybe the books haven't really accounted for yet. And then the Warriors at home, they struggle to cover at home when they're heavily favored. I looked at this season when they're favored by 5 or more at home. They're only 4-13-2 ATS, 12-7 to the under. I know Steve mentioned, sort of like the under trend for the play-ins throughout the last 4 years or whatever. It's actually 70% to the under for all play-in games since the beginning of adding it to the season. I think this one also goes under too. I'm kind of looking towards the Grizzlies to cover the 7 and to the under. I think it moved down like 3 points from the open, but still look towards that under spot.
It's amazing to think that Steph Curry's 0-3 in play-in games, isn't it? Like, it doesn't sound right when you say it out loud. Like, how? And he's been good. That's the other thing is like, I believe he's 30 points in all of them. I know he had like 37 and 39, but I don't know, Ronald. It feels like this Golden State team is dangerous this year. They had to be so upset to be in the play-in game. Those guys got miles on their bodies. They need as few minutes as possible. So I know they were kind of bummed about that one. WNBA. talk to us a little bit about WNBA, because I know it's coming up. And listen, money's money, profit's a profit. I don't care what sport it is in. When you're number one the last 2 years in a row, that really speaks to me. So yeah, just touch a little bit on NBA, how important it is to add to your portfolio and what you expect from this season.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the WNBA has become a little bit more popular the last couple seasons. Obviously, last season with CC coming in.
You think?
The draft just happened yesterday.
You think Caitlin Clark maybe brought a few more eyeballs to WNBA? Hot take,
she
Ronald.
She did her job, man, and kudos to her for being able to bring in a new fan base and all that stuff too. I know there's a lot of stuff going on around her fan base, but to me, the more eyes, the better, whether it's good or bad. I think they're going to make more money because of it. And that's going to be helpful for all the women that's playing in that league. But yeah, the draft just happened yesterday too. Paige went to Dallas. So I'm already following. I was already one of the few people that was betting the Unrivaled League, continuing to follow women's basketball. So, I mean, it's just one thing that for me that I think a lot of sports bettors in this space who are, professional handicappers, they tend to go to these smaller markets. I know you're into that, Andy. A lot of the things that you bet, a lot of people are like, why, or what? I don't even watch it. You don't really need to watch it if you're actually going into purchasing plays from people who actually do and who study the game and know the nuances between NBA and the WNBA, because it's a totally different game, right? The advantages are different. The schedule is different. The travel is different. You have to understand that to be able to handicap the WNBA. So yeah, like you said, number one overall. I mean, since number one overall at WagerTalk in WNBA, last 2 seasons finished number one as well. I think last season we went 58 or 59% on the season, up 65 units. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's around that. So I'm really excited for the WNBA season to come up, and we have a package available right now. If you get the WNBA season, you get the rest of the NBA playoffs, and obviously a lot of people actually know me more for NBA than the WNBA, because myself and Ski does the nightly show 10 p.m. on the WagerTalk YouTube channel every Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah, you got a nice special going, Ronald. I know it's $5 Tuesday, so tell everyone about $5 Tuesday, and you're running a great special. You get the WA and you get the NFL playoffs for free, absolutely free, added in. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mentioned the numbers, right? Historically have been really great in the WNBA. So trying to give that special out for the whole season, and then obviously you would benefit for the rest of the NBA playoffs. Obviously, I think what 4 of the last 5 NBA seasons have been extremely profitable. I think 3 years ago was the only negative season, but after that. Actually, the first 2 years with WagerTalk and Sports Memo, I was number one in the NBA. So there's a lot of things as far as basketball goes that I really love. Played it, coached it. We obviously betting it. So taking advantage of both NBA and WNBA for the rest of the season, I think it's a great special there.
Ronald's one of my favorite. We've had some really nice talks, long talks. And listen, Ronald, when I'm looking at investing in other handicappers, and yes, I do buy other handicappers, I'm looking for the sports that I don't watch. I want passive income. I want my money to be making money when I'm not watching these sports. I love these niche sports. The lines are so much more soft. You can take advantage of it, and you don't have to invest the time into watching it. So I can't stress enough how important it is to take advantage of handicappers like Ronald when he gives out specials like WNBA and NBA playoffs. So Ronald, thank you so much. Continued success.
Could I add to that real quick, Andy?
Absolutely.
Just because I think there's a lot of different types of handicappers, and for me, and I'll talk to you about it. I'm very model based, right? Stats, analytics, situational. It's very balanced, right? Being able to stack the edges that you have, I think is very important, because I'm one of the newer handicappers, and we talk. Our conversations are about what our conversations are about. But for me as a handicapper, a lot of people who don't know me, they don't understand my process. I think if you just go back to our handicapper pages, look at our streaks, look at the analysis that we put into it, then you'll understand the differences between the handicappers. You'll see all the stats that I put, all the trends, all the situational things that you actually don't think about, maybe other handicappers don't think about. I think it's very important to do your due diligence, not just look at the last 3 days, not the last 7 days. Look at the analysis. Think about what the handicapper is thinking about the process and all that stuff, because it's a huge difference of identifying who's the actual handicapper versus someone who's just kind of throwing stuff out there.
Absolutely. I'd love to, we could do an entire episode about some of the things you and I have talked about. So Ronald Cabang, thank you. Good luck WNBA season. And of course on $5 Tuesday. Thank you so much. All right, guys, my $5 play that's up is in the NHL. I was going for 7 wins in a row. We lost last night, so we're 6-1. But, man, I love this play. NHL has been such a boost to the bankroll. So take advantage of that. If we win tonight, look at 7-day pass, 30-day pass, 365-day pass as well. WT.buzz/AL. All right, let's bring in Andrew McInnis. We've got to talk about NHL and where the playoff stands. Andrew, what's going on? Got a couple big games tonight. What are the good storylines in NHL right now?
Yeah, good to see you as always, Andy. Really great show today, honestly. Great show. Kind of a good thing being last because I had to wait along and watch the full show. So I got to hear a little bit of information from everybody, and you learn something different from every single handicapper. You know, right now at this point, Andy, there's not a lot going on. There's just the last couple wildcard spots. The last wildcard spot, of course, you know I'm a diehard Canadiens fan in the East. Pretty much everything would have to go wrong for them to lose that spot. They have needed one regulation win for the last 3 games. Haven't been able to get that. Columbus is on the outside looking in. Columbus has to win their next 2 games to win. And of course, in Montreal, if they win against Carolina tomorrow, they're in no matter what. So right now, I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and I'm also a fan of whatever team Columbus is playing. And as far as the Western Conference, you've got St. Louis, Minnesota, and the Calgary Flames. Those 3 teams are pretty much like separated between just a handful of points. And what's great is that both those teams play, all of those teams play tonight. So, you know, Andy, it's kind of funny because you can find yourselves betting on some of these teams that have absolutely zero relevancy to the standings, and you just feel like you have an edge. But I don't know, for me personally, I have found myself over the last little while, and I just got back from a vacation where I only probably released 4 or 5 plays over the last little while. I prefer to bet on the games with meaning. I know some people would probably argue to you, well, you could probably argue this team and that team. I think if you do that, you're kind of just trying to guess which game means the most to that team. I prefer to bet the teams that are going towards the playoffs for the most part.
Love it. Before we get into the games, tell everyone what you have up at WagerTalk. It's $5 Tuesday. NHL playoffs are here, so it's go time, man. What do you have up at WagerTalk?
It is go time, Andy, but I actually have a $5 customer appreciation play in the MLB. I said, you know what? NHL is going really well. You want that play? You got to pay for it regular price. You want to sample me with the MLB? You get that one for a pretty good discount. So it's a 21-12 run in the NHL plus 25 units. I mean, when you said what you are overall in 2025, Andy, it puts me to shame. I don't even want to say what I am, but I thought plus 39 units in a few months was pretty good. Number 6 overall.
No, it's not good, so. Andrew. It's great. You're selling yourself short. It's not good. It's great. You're on pace for an insane. That's an insanely great pace to be at. So yeah, 39 units. Congratulations on that. Anyway, I interrupted you. MLB play $5. Sorry.
Yeah, and just very similar to what I've done with the NHL, team totals have been the name of the game for me in the MLB. That's kind of where I'm going to go. I love taking the other team out of the picture. You worry about just one team, and you know it's all about obviously the price that you're betting, but it's also about win percentage. Like, you know, this year, Andy, in the NHL, I'm number 1 since the preseason. You know, my win percentage is 51. A lot of people, when you say about having a really good, if you told me the number 1 guy since the preseason in the NHL, at what's their win percentage, I'd probably guess, you know, it's got to be 53, 54, 55, something like that. But with the average price that I've dealt with in the NHL, it's led me to only have to have 51% winners. That's how I am in the MLB as well. You guys can expect that from me all throughout the summer with getting some of these great prices, betting team totals, whether it's team total overs, team total unders, first 5, full game, whatever it might be. And that's what you're going to get today if you buy my $5 play.
Love it. Let's talk 2 NHL games. Florida, Tampa Bay, Vegas, Calgary. The floor is yours. Give me both games.
Okay, let's do it, Andy. Well, we'll start with the Florida one here. And you know, this is one of those games where both teams, it's already decided, just mathematically, the way things are going to work out. These teams are going to play each other in the first round. So congratulations to the Toronto Maple Leafs, who you know I have all kinds of fun poking fun at. They have won the division. So it's huge for them, but it's great for TV ratings. You're going to get the Battle of Canada there with Ottawa and Toronto. In the first round, you're going to get the Battle of the Sunshine State with Florida and Tampa. This will mark the last game of the season for the Florida Panthers. And I think they actually go out swinging. I think they come out and perform very well. And the overnight money actually went towards the home team with Tampa Bay. And I'm sure a lot of that, Andy, has to do with the fact that it's second half of back-to-back, and people just love fading teams on second half of back-to-back. But I think they go out with some pride here. Because my numbers, as far as the score says, that the Rangers beat the Panthers 5-3. The expected goal numbers were closer to a victory for the Panthers, somewhere along the lines of 2.8 to 1.3. So it sounds like Florida actually had a better game, created more chances in their game against New York than maybe the final score indicated. And I feel like sometimes with good teams, second half of back-to-back can be a bet on opportunity. With bad teams, you fade it. But with good teams, past few months, I've loved betting on them, especially off the loss. They feel that extra edge, that motivation, and especially with this being the last game of the season, they're going to want to win. Last year, en route to winning the Stanley Cup, the Florida Panthers went 7-3-1 on the road in the playoffs. I am not worried about them being on the road in this one. Of course, not much travel against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm going to take them to win here. Andy, I love this price. We're getting a nice plus price on it with plus 154. And if you want to play it safer, you can take that team total over 2.5 at minus 120. Maybe do a half bet on each. I think Florida shows up today in this one. I'll keep the next one short and simple with Calgary and Vegas. This is one of those ones where I always tell people, must win does not mean will win. But I certainly like how Calgary's playing right now. And this is one of those spots where Vegas could care less. They've had a fantastic season. They're getting ready for the playoffs. They have a rather veteran-built team. They're going to rest a few guys tonight. They're going to go mid-season NBA form and probably pull some load management actually late in the season here in the NHL. Calgary's been playing well. They're hungry right now. They've got great goaltending. I'll look for a low-scoring victory for the Calgary Flames. Vegas opened up minus 135 overnight. That number turned into a pick, and then now it's some shops favored for the Calgary Flames. I'm buying into that. I think that's accurate, and that's the way we should go here. Follow the money with the Calgary Flames on the money line against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Calgary's been an absolute moneymaker. I love the Calgary Flames, man. They've been so good the last 2 weeks. They really have. So, Andrew, I hope you had a great vacation. Good luck on $5 Tuesday with your MLB play. And just Andrew, real quick, it's interesting you brought up that winning percentage. Yesterday, Gianni and I literally talked about why ROI is so important to look at, because if someone has a lower percentage but a high ROI, that lets you know they're betting underdogs and they're winning on that. So it's a perfect, see, it all just ties together right there. Andrew, great job. Thank you so much, buddy. Glad to have you back from vacation, and looking forward to NHL playoffs. All right, that's going to do it. Thank you guys in the chat. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Good luck on all your plays. Remember, practice good bankroll management. We'll be back tomorrow on the best sports betting show on the planet, WagerTalk Today. Good luck in your plays.